Welcome to this presentation, which I hope will give you the basics behind the Internet Explorer browser. As you see on the screen, I want to make sure that you understand that you might have a different version of the browser on your particular computer from what I have on this video and from what may possibly be in your textbook, because of course technology changes rapidly and they don't have to ask book publishers or computer users like you and me permission to make these changes. So I wanted to make sure that the more insecure, more nervous student understood this up front. I'm going to go into an Internet Explorer, and I'm assuming that you are looking at your book and reading through and going through the exercises, but some people, particularly the online students, may feel more comfortable if they see a more visual approach from the instructor. So I'm clicking on my blue E, the icon for Internet Explorer, on my screen, and I come up with the very first page, which in this case is my home page. And again, in your textbook, the home page has different definitions. In this particular situation, the definition of home page is the one that comes up first on your screen. To find out what version of Internet you have, you can go over here across this menu that says File, Edit, View, etc. Go to Help and choose the word About. Usually with every browser, every software package really, you'll see the word About followed by the title of the package. And About Internet Explorer will tell me in this case that I have Internet Explorer version 9, and you can download a different one if you want to. It should not cause major harm to your computer. I'll go ahead and click OK. And to let you know how this works, the browsers vary a little bit. Some have better speed, some are claimed to be safer than others, and that's something pardon me, you have to decide on. When I go up here to the very top and I right click my mouse, I will see a choice of various bars that are on the computer, and I want to, hopefully visually this will allow you to see these. I have the menu bar checked right now. The menu bar is the one that says File, Edit, View, Favorites over on the top left, and if I click that, of course it will go away. And if I ever have a bar that's missing, I can recover it by going to the very top of the screen and right clicking, and the choices should appear there. So the menu bar is the one that starts with File, Edit, View that you see in most software packages. The Favorites bar is the one that I now made disappear. It's the one over here on my particular computer that has the words Suggested Sites, Websites. You'll see that little star, which is often very universal. Now this is a Favorites bar, which should not be confused with something called the Favorites Center. The Command bar, if you click on that one, you'll see some symbols over here to the far right. I've got the little home picture, that's for the home key, and there's a menu, that arrow that goes from there. There's one that has Rss Feeds, which you can look at in the book. The print menu, the page menu, which is a fairly long one if you wanted to zoom in on something larger in case you had visual issues like I do with my bifocal contacts. Safety, if you want to go into private browsing. Different kinds of tools, and of course the help screen. So there's your command bar right there. And you have the status bar, which typically is at the very bottom of the screen. That's the one I have. If you can see this, it's in gray. At the very bottom there's a 100% there where you can adjust the zoom if you want to. Basically, if you want to hide or view these bars, you can. You've got the typical buttons over on the far right where you can minimize the window, and there's my word again, or you can maximize it again. You can close it and restore it. And you've got some other buttons up here as well. The home button, the star, which lets you view your favorites, and then the gear that is basic tools on it. Alright, if you wanted to go to full screen, you can also right click on here, and sometimes, depending on your version of your computer, sometimes you'll get to full screen there. You don't in this case, but if I go to the tools option here, about halfway down in this version, I can hit the full screen key or F11. That will just get me just a complete screen with minimal menus there. If you want to recover it, you can right click again, and if you don't have the full screen there, just remember that you can go back to tools again and choose the full screen, and it will uncheck it. And of course, if you go to a different website, let's suppose I were to go to Cleveland Community College's website right now. This one has a number of options in there. This is a big, powerful website, a very well designed website actually by Practicum and also by Design Features. So I can go to the various menus and go to different places there. This would be considered the home page of this particular site. It was not the home page for my entire internet experience, but for this site, this is the basis for this big, rather complicated website. And of course I can use the back and forward buttons over here in the top to go back and forth between places. Typically, a well-designed website will allow you to click on the logo or title, which in this case is Cleveland Community College, to take you back to that site's homepage, second version or second definition of homepage. And if you wanted to have some additional options here, you can go in and you can do quite a few other things. For example, under Tools, whether you choose Tools right here in the menu bar, whether you choose Tools over here in the command bar, you've got some of the features that will show in multiple places, which is an indicator of a well-designed site as well. If I go down here to Internet Options at the very bottom of the Tools menu, I have several choices that I can make here. This would allow me in general to change my home page. It says right here, it may be hard for you to see on this video, that my home page currently is Microsoft Network or MSN.com. I can look at my history and set that to where I can make the history being what sites you visited at any time, day or week or month on the computer. And you can have all these options that you can change. I won't go into details with those. Security allows you to have a slider that lets you set whether, if you've got a person that may be, or some sites that may creep in that may compromise your computer, you can change that level by clicking the little slider and make it very, very strict or very, very unstrict. Now, while you'll keep out, for example, the pornography kind of sites, you may keep out some other sites as well. So there's a line that you have to watch there. And of course, as I always tell students, to keep viruses and such from getting on your computer, don't go where you're not supposed to, and that way I'm not making an ethical or moral statement to you. That's up to the individual. I say that as where I wear my educator hat. Privacy, same thing. It allows you to do some blocking of these things called cookies, which you can look at in the book, and we'll study these later on in another chapter. Content, we can go through all these, but these are various internet options that are available to you. If you wanted to, instead of having different windows or having to use the back and forth buttons, the back and forward buttons, you can go over here to the far right, and there's a little gray area that's referred to as a tab. And if you hit a new tab, basically what you can do is you can have more than one window open, or more than one tab open in one window. So instead of having, if I were to minimize this one window, whether I'm at the Cleveland Community College site or the Google site, or if I go back over here, let's say to MSN.com, when I use the tabs, I can just go from one site to the next, where if I close the whole window, all the sites disappear at one time. If I were to go in and then I can go down here in Windows 7, I can choose which window of the three within the tabs that I want to open. If I were to go in, instead of choosing a tab, if I wanted to do a new window, I can go to, and here's File, where I can also go with a new tab. I can also go in and actually get a brand new window also. Again, just go through the different menu and command bars, and you can find this stuff as well. For example, again, if you go under File, you could choose New Window, and in that new window, let's just suppose, now Cleveland came up right here, but just to make something different on this video for those who are a little more insecure or nervous with it, I'll go to Walmart. Now Walmart is a completely separate window. Because I chose New Window, if I were to minimize this window, the one with all the tabs on it is still there, because I made a separate window completely instead of a tabbed version of this site. I can go in also and I can look at my history of my computer in various ways. You can go to Tools and you can go into Internet Options. Again, there are a number of ways to do this, and you go under, even in here, you can look at your browsing history and set it to where the computer will clear your sites when you leave. You can have it to where your history stays there, so that you can look at how many days the internet history should save the list of sites. Basically, the history is what you or someone else has done on this particular computer, what you've looked at. You can check this with your kids or with your family or whomever who's been on your computer, and what they've been what they've been searching for, what they've been browsing through during this time period. I want to mention something here also about the favorites bar versus the favorites center. If I have a site like Walmart that I want to use, and I like that site, and instead of having to type www.walmart.com, if I want to just have this on my favorites bar, I can do that very easily. Again, the favorites bar, in case you are unaware of it, I'll take it off right now. It's the one that I had on my screen a minute ago that says suggested sites, web slice gallery, etc. There's an option here if you go under the favorites menu, and I want to make sure you understand the difference here. There's one that says add to favorites and one that says add to favorites bar. There's a big difference between these in Internet Explorer. If I click add to favorites bar, here I go, I'll actually add the Walmart site right here on the favorites bar. If I go to the favorites center, where and the difference here again, when you go under favorites, there's something that says add to favorites ... That means there's another choice that we made. You can go in and you can actually organize these in folders. So if you wanted the Walmart site that's showing right here, and it does the one that's currently on my screen, if I wanted to make a brand new folder and I wanted to call it stores or that I visit or the mall or something, I can create a folder and then select that folder, and then the particular favorite would save inside that folder. I just click the add button and I can add that to a folder that I have on my computer. You can also delete folders. You can move stuff around within these folders. And again, just wanted to show you this so you would understand how this works. You've got something called organized favorites in here, and it will give you, and I have several, some are created by Internet Explorer and some created by me, and you can actually go in just like you do folders and files on your standard computer layout, and you can organize your favorites. You can move stuff back and forth, and the book will tell you exactly how to do. If you go over to the star that is on the opposite end of the page from this one, the left side is the favorites bar. If you go all the way to the right, up here at the top of that star, you can view the favorites center. The favorites center is different in that it not only contains the favorites by site and by folder, but it also has something called Rss Feeds. We'll talk about that later on. That's where you might have like a daily broadcast that's updated every day for you that you like. Maybe you're into a Paul Harvey type thing, commentary, or maybe you're into, if you're into your church work, maybe you're into a daily Bible reading or service or something. Something, especially audio stuff, is done with these feeds. And of course, in this favorite center, as I'm calling this also, is a history. And you can look at the history of what I browsed today, what I browsed on Monday. See, it's showing me all the sites now if I click today that I have done. And I can look at my history that way. If I want to make my browsing private where that history is not there, I can go into several options here. Again, depending on, I'll close this for right now, depending on what, and I just used the star to close it. Depending upon what you want to do, I can go to safety right here, and I can choose something called in private browsing. And I'll go there right now, and that will give me a little warning, for lack of a better word, information that says in private browsing is turned on. And notice that up here in the top in what's called the address bar where you type the www business, you'll see the little in private symbol for Internet Explorer set up for you. It's now turned on. Let's suppose now, for example, that I went, I'm just thinking out loud, suppose I went to Gaston College's site, and there it is, and I'm in Gaston College's site. If I go back over here and look at my history today, you'll notice, if you can see this on the screen, that Gaston College is not listed in today's history. That's because I've got private browsing turned on. And you can also look at this under your tools bar. You can look in your internet options on your toolbar, and you can go, I was thinking there was an option here for safety. This may be under privacy. It varies according to your version of internet that you have. And you can go in and make this browsing private. I do that very often. There's also a search engine that will allow private browsing as well, which I'll show you when we get to that particular chapter. If you wanted to save this page on your computer, of course you can go to the traditional file save as, or probably over on page also. And what you want to be careful about when you are saving a page, I would advise you typically to preview the page, but if you can see this, we a lot of times ignore the save as type part, but be sure that it says complete so that you get the page with everything, text and images on there. You can choose text only. You can choose just the HTML language behind the scenes, and you have that option as well. The last thing I wanted to show you, if I can get this to work on this particular computer, is the Internet Explorer version 10. under the Windows 8 software. If I'm not able to get this to work on my video, I'll end it right here, and you'll please understand that. You may not be able to see this very well on your screen, but the big difference in the way Internet Explorer 10 will work on Windows 8 is that the address bar, the HTTP www part, will be at the bottom of the screen, and you'll notice the absence of scroll bars. I didn't want to go into a lot of depth with this, but just to give you an idea of just what it looks like here. If any of you are interested, and we may do this later on in the course, if you're interested in looking at Internet Explorer 10 from a Windows 8 perspective and look at some basics, I'll be glad to help you with that. Thank you very much, and I hope this helped.